Hi, I'm Jeff from Trail, and today I'll be showing you the Langley Awning. I'll show you how to attach it to the vehicle, how to erect the awning. I'll show you features and benefits of the awning itself. I'll also show you how to detach it from the vehicle so that you can drive away, and then how to reattach it to your vehicle. And then finally, I'll show you how to pack it all away and get it back into the bag. I've been in the outdoor industry for over 30 years. I've designed and developed the products, so hopefully all goes to plan. The first thing to consider when you get to your pitch is making sure that you have enough space behind and ideally enough space in front so that if you are driving your vehicle away, you can drive away safely and then you can also get back safely. In an ideal situation, you'd do a circle to get in and out, but obviously there will be some occasions, depending on the pitch, where you have to reverse in, but I will be covering that later. I'll show you the awning itself. So it comes in nice oversized carry bag, so big central zip on it, and then inside is the awning. Now the awning will come tied up with these straps. Important thing, real good tip, keep hold of these because it means that when you pack it away at the end, you've got something to tie it up with. So they can go back into the awning bag itself. Then with the awning, we have steel tent pegs. So just unroll the awning, and then in the centre of the awning you'll find the tent poles and the drive away kit. So in the pole bag, as well as the poles, we also have a drive away kit. So the drive away kit is a unique feature because we include this with the trail awnings. Normally you have to buy these separately, but we actually include it and then you're ready to go as soon as you buy the awning itself. The drive away kit basically consists of a length of K-door piping. You've got 6mm beading on one side, which is for the awning, and then on the other side you've got 6mm beading and also 4mm beading because there's different sizes depending on your vehicle. So they're the most popular sizes, so they should cover virtually all the vehicles. Also part of the drive away kit are figure of 8 strips, and basically these connect the rail on the van where the K-door strip is, and then this actually connects to the awning itself. So that's what holds it together. It also means when you drive away, you just have to remove the K-door strip and the figure of 8 rather than the whole awning. So it makes it a lot easier. Then, with this being a poled awning, fiberglass poled awning, you've got your fiberglass poles. There's 4 poles on this awning, and one of them's slightly different size, so that's marked with red, and also on the awning itself, the pole sleeve is marked with red, so nice and easy to use. So 3 black poles, which go into the black sleeves, and then 1 red pole, which is marked, and the actual pole sleeve itself is marked with a little red tab. So on to actually connecting the K-door strip. So you start with the actual K-door strip like so. So the bit that you've got 2 connectors to, that's the best bit to actually put into the awning rail itself. So to do that, make sure you've got your figure of 8s with you. Is locate the end of the awning rail, and on this van just a very simple rail. There's some really fancy ones, but they all work the same way. You locate that in and you basically slide that along so it sits roughly in the middle of the rail itself. Then to connect the awning, it's always best to have 2 people. You can do it by yourself, but it's a little bit more fiddly, takes a little bit more time. If you're going to do it by yourself, just practice a few times before you turn up at the campsite. If there's 2 of you, so here's Emma to help me. You pull the awning towards the van, and then basically this side of the K-door strip that's on the awning, that has to connect to the K-door strip on the van, and we do that using the figure of 8 channels. So it's simply a case of connecting one in like so, and then connecting the other like so. And then once they're connected and you've pushed them on a little bit, these basically just slide on like so. So it's a good idea, once the first one's on, just to try and hold both bits together. Just makes it easier. Second one, exactly the same way. It's up to you whether you get it onto the awning rail first or the awning, but both bits have to be connected. So again, holding both bits and then just sliding it on. Third piece, exactly the same again. So connect one side, connect the other side. At this stage, the awning will move about a little bit, which is absolutely fine because we're still just trying to connect it. And then the final piece. So that is like so. Maybe a little bit of overhang there, which is absolutely fine. You do want a little bit of flexibility in the van itself. You don't want everything to be really, really tight. You want a little bit of movement there. So that's your actual awning connected to the vehicle. It's then a case of pegging it down to make sure that it sits properly. So grab your tent pegs. Always handy to have a mallet. Otherwise you're just going to hurt your hands and you can't always use your feet. So make sure you carry a mallet with you. Then either at the front or the back, it doesn't matter which you start with, all depends where you sit. On the inside, there's 2 little loops of elastic. If to start with, you pull those together and basically you put your peg through both. And this holds the door in place, or the cowling door in place. And then with this, you just want to peg it down slightly under the van. Your peg wants to be in at 45 degrees, which basically it's the most secure way. A lot harder to pull out, but then when you do actually come to remove it, providing you're pulling it at 45 degrees, it comes out nice and easily. So that's the first one pegged in. And then on the outside, there's a webbing loop, and again, that gets pegged in slightly under the van. .45 degrees again, and that just basically secures that. So it means that when you actually tighten your cowling up, it's nice and secure. So then we do exactly the same at the rear. So you have your 2 loops, peg goes through both loops, that one and that one. That gets pegged in at the back, again slightly under the van, 45 degrees. Try not to hit yourself on the hand. Again, just adjusting it. Ground's quite hard today. And then the peg through the webbing loop. 45 degrees again. So that's nice and secure. So that's your cowling which is attached to the van and held in place. So then we come to actually putting the awning up. So with this being a fiberglass poled awning, we need to thread the poles. So move your pegs out the way, move your mallet out the way, and then grab your poles. So as per the instructions, we start with the black poles. So there's 3 black poles. These are fiberglass poles with metal ferrules, and they simply slot together, connected together with elastic, and they just simply slot together. About a quarter of the way through, you'll find that there's a bent ferrule or a shaped ferrule. This is shaped for a reason, because it basically makes the sides of the awning straighter, which gives you more livable space inside rather than just a complete arc round. So we simply just connect all these up. And then we have one pole length made up of several sections. Then to insert it, we locate front pole sleeve. So the pole sleeve are black. Again, with this being the front pole sleeve, there's no red tab on it. For the red pole, there's actually a clearly marked red tab, so you can't get that wrong. And then it's a case of getting the pole and inserting it into the sleeve. Again, this can be done by yourself, but again, if you've got that third person with you, they can just help feed it through. So when using fiberglass poles, make sure that you always push the poles, because if you pull them, basically they come apart. So make sure that they're always under tension, always getting pushed in. If you get to a point where it's sticking a little bit, work your way down the pole sleeve and then just see what it's stuck on. Sometimes it can be a guy line, sometimes in this case it's actually the reinforcing point for the guying point. So you just feed that through and the pole comes out the other end. So we keep pushing the pole through. And then roughly where the bend is of the pole, or the shaping of the pole, you just want the actual sleeve to sit about there. Then lay the pole down. And then on the front strap here, and this is it's exactly the same for every pole, you have a ring and pin. Pin simply goes into the end of the pole there. To help hold the pole in place, there's little C-clips on the straps. With this being the front pole, it's a strap, but on most of them it's just actually attached to the tent itself. The reason why we use the C-clips is that there's more flex to the pole, so it means that the pole's easier to get in. Also allows wind to travel through the poles itself, so it's not catching. So that's like so. And we move to the other side. Again, put a bit of tension on the pole. Locate the ring and pin. And just simply push that through. As you can see, there's quite a lot of flex to the pole. That's fine. It's designed that way. Then just get it sitting correctly. Like that. Again, finally on this pole, just connect your C-clips. So that's your pole connected. Basically we just do the same on all of them, all the way back. On the rear one, so red tab, red pole, but just go front to back and you end up with the red one at the back. Red tab at the top, and then we've got the red sleeve on the actual pole there, so we know it's the right one. Tent's been stood up, or the awning's been stood up as we've gone through, because we have the second person. At this stage, if you were by yourself, it'd be slightly flatter and you just need to actually pull it up. So then all the poles are in place, so now it's a case of securing it to the ground. So come around to the back. and you have your corner point here. This comes straight out. And then you've got your webbing tab there. It's worth having it fairly long to begin with. And it does mean that you can tighten it up. Again, pegs at 45 degrees into the ground. So move to the other side. And again, when you're pegging it, you're looking to get it as tight and as straight as you can. So at this stage, it's more important to actually get it upright. So get your peg started off. So that's the back up. And then work your way around to the front. At this stage, if there's two of you, it's always good just to both grab a pole. You basically walk the actual tent out or the awning out, like so. Again, one person's still holding it. Again, these straps here are adjustable, so get them fairly long to begin with, your actual storm straps there, and hammer that in. There's enough movement there if we need to move it once everything's been pegged. Same again with the front one. The adjustment also means that if you hit a rock or anything like that, you can move the peg about and there's enough movement in the strap itself. So that is the awning up. So now what we do is we'll walk round and we'll just make sure everything's neat, everything's nice and tight, sitting in the right place. So with your poles, just sort of lift your poles, bring them out. So that what you're looking for is a nice tight floor straps going all the way through. So this front one's adjustable, so if you are bothered, what you can do is unclip it, just make it nice and flat there. That way it becomes less of a trip hazard. If it's all twisted round, one, it means that it won't be sitting properly, but it can be a bit of a trip hazard there. So once you're happy that the awning's sitting nicely, just a case of pegging it in. It's always worth checking to make sure that it's sitting nicely before you peg it, otherwise you'll just end up unpegging it. And one of those wasn't clipped, so we'll just clip that in now. And then at the bottom, basically where your pole connects in, you've got a little webbing tab, so the tent peg goes through the webbing tab. So worth making sure that they're all pegged down. The pegging points are there for a reason, so do use them. Again, hit a rock there, so if you do, just try and change the angle a little bit. At this stage here, We can adjust that, just because it's a little bit looser there. That side can get adjusted in, and then we've got the 2 pegging points here at the back. Moving round to the front where there's more pegging point. So again, that's a shelter or the awning up, pegged to the ground. It's now a case of just doing the actual guy lines, which will give it a bit more shape, a bit more support. So these rear high guy lines here, also there's a vent behind, so it's always worth having that open, because then the vent just allows air to circulate round, cuts down condensation, that type of things. And then when you're using the guy lines, this is one that hadn't been undone before. So basically they look, just put that down, they look like that. What you need to do, works off friction. So where the knot is, you pull the loop on the other side out, and then that causes the friction there. So it's basically you make the loop that you're pegging in from the knot downwards and outwards, and that provides the friction. To adjust them, you simply loosen it off a little bit, and they slide up and down when there's no pressure on it. So get it to roughly where you want it to be. Hammer it in, and then that can then get adjusted. So like so, like that. Knot at the top, and then you've got your loop going down and back into itself. Tent peg. And you don't have to, but I like to try and get them roughly the same sort of size at the same sort of angle. But then depending on the prevailing wind, you may need to pull them off at strange sort of angles just to give the awning more structure. So you adjust it. So There's a bit of wind today coming from the back, so I'm just pulling this out just slightly away and at an angle. Depending on the conditions, you may need to pull that straight out if the wind's coming straight at the side of the awning. With this one, the centre one, normally it's straight out. It just gives it that bit of tension. But again, depending on the wind, you might just want to pull it forward ever so slightly. But whilst it's relatively calm today, I'll just go straight out with it. So you do this for all the guy lines. Just one tip with guy lines, because they work on friction, they will eventually loosen over time. So especially in high winds or very blustery conditions. So it's always worth checking your guy lines and just retightening them. Normally first thing in the morning and last thing at night really, before you go to bed. So with this one, I'll pull out just towards the front a little bit. Saying just gives it a bit of tension that way. Takes quite a lot of time to guy a tent or an awning out, but it's well worth doing it just to make sure that it's nice and stable. And also, the better guyed out and pegged out it is, far less chance of damage actually happening to it, even in high winds. So we do test all of the trail awnings and tents, both for waterproofness and winds. So we're confident that they're up to the job. Last few to do. Just a bit twisted. So sometimes you find that it just gets a little bit twisted around the pole because of where you've clipped it in. If so, just unclip, sort it out, and then just clip it back up. Then these side ones which are near the van, if you think you are going to use your van or vehicle and drive away, it's worth pegging them just so that they're actually clear of the front wheels there. And you've got this one here, which is by your cowling. Because we're going to use the cowling, we won't bother pegging that for now. If in very windy conditions, you could peg it. But you just need to be aware that if you're going in and out your cowling, if you peg that, it is in the way. So that's everything guyed and pegged down. Just a word on the cowling. So at this stage, sometimes you just have to readjust the actual beading itself. And then what you have here is by using this strap that basically pulls that up. So you've got your doorway into your van itself. So right at the beginning, we pegged both bits down, so that just holds it in place while you're pitching it. You can then unpeg that if you want to allow you to roll the door away, or if you're not really going to be using the cowling, just leave it attached or step through if you really want to. But if you are going to use it, just basically lift your peg, unhook it, and then the cowling door can be rolled away, like so. So with the cowling door, it can be, depending on the height of your van. So this actual awning is designed for rail heights of 180 to 210. But if it's 180, this is quite low. At 180, this can be a little bit baggy. At 210, it can be a little bit stretched. Obviously, what we've got is the actual strap there, so you can pull it in and make it look as neat as you can, really. But that should sit fairly flush to the van itself. But again, don't worry about that being absolutely perfect. It needs to have a little bit of movement to it. So the final thing to do is to actually put the ground sheet in. So with trail awnings, we use a clip-in ground sheet. Reason for this is if it gets damaged, it can get replaced. Certain campsites, certainly those in Europe, don't like you using ground sheets on the floor. If you're in the UK and you get a pitch on hard standing, it also means that you don't need to use the ground sheet. So this clips in. As you can see, there's a valance around the actual awning itself. So open up the ground sheet. Like so. And you just need to get it positioned. So there's a little tab in the middle there, or just off the middle, so that needs to be uppermost. So that is for, there's a bedroom that you can buy as an accessory that clips the bedroom to the floor. So to clip it in, you've got little S hook that just hooks into the corners like so. There's no set way to doing this. It's more just making sure everything is clipped in place. Oh. So that's your ground sheet in place. As you can see, makes quite a nice tight seal. If anything gets spilt, it can be taken up, cleaned off quite easily. Likewise, when you come to take it down, it can be removed if it's very, very muddy underneath. So then just to talk about the inside of the actual awning itself, to the side here, there's a D door. So zip along the bottom, that going round, that gives you access to the actual van there. So you've got a cowling door to the front of the van, there's also a cowling door to the back of the van. So this means that if you need to get into the van, you don't need to go into the awning. So if it's wet and muddy, you don't want to traipse through, you can simply enter and exit through the actual side cowling there. Again, when not in use, that can just zip away, like so. Inside the awning, because it can get quite hot, We've got a big high rear vent, and then we've also got a low vent down here which allows good air circulation. Then on the front door, as well as a waterproof outer door, we've also got a mesh door. Again, great for ventilation, also helps to keep any insects and that out. So these roll away independently, so nice and easy to roll away. So what you have is just a toggle, which is what we use on pretty much all the fixings. So toggle at the top, toggle at the bottom, and likewise on the main door. That clips in and that will toggle away. So it's done so they can be rolled independently. On some tents and awnings it's just one roll, which means you either have the door open or the door closed. So probably do it a bit neater than that in reality. So then coming into the awning itself, other features, so we've got big full side window, which again is just on toggles on elastic. So you can either have it like so you've got half a window panel there, or unhook it fully, roll it away, which also means you've still got access to the vent. We have two side windows, which again is just roll away. So we try and use the same style of fixing throughout, just makes it a lot easier to get on with. So one there, one on the other side. So straight away just allows lots and lots of light inside. So on each pole, so including the inner pole there, front pole and this middle pole, we've basically got a hanging hook, so you can hang a lantern or anything else like that electric wise. And then we've got Velcro tabs coming down the sides, and these are on both sides, which will allow the actual wire to go up there, or if you're putting fairy lights up, you've got somewhere to hook it. These aren't really load bearing, so don't really hang anything too heavy off them. It's more just to keep the wire up and out the way. Then one of the unique features about the trail awnings are the skylights. So across the centre here, we have a zip curtain, which then reveals three big skylights. So the zip curtain rolls away to one side. Like so. So what this does is absolutely floods the inside with light. Obviously it's a very, very bright sunny day today, so it's probably a little bit too light, so we'd close it up unless you really like the sunlight. But on dull days, just allows a lot of light inside. And also at night time, if you've got a clear sky, you can sit inside in your favourite chair, looking up, sky gazing. So it's a unique feature to the actual trail tents themselves. The zipped away cover, got extra long toggles on there, so you're not, even if you're fairly short, you can actually get to them, and that just simply zips away. So that is the Langley awning. Just one thing to talk about while we're inside. Today's a very, very hot day. One thing that all tents can suffer from is condensation. And condensation is basically where hot air on the inside meets cold air on the outside, and then basically it can form back into, the water vapour can form back into droplets. So ways to try and minimise it, because you'll never avoid it, are for night time, make sure that all your windows are closed. So once you've finished sky gazing for night time, zip that away. Close all your windows. Again, little toggle and hook, both sides. So obviously for night time you'd probably close your windows anyway, just so that people can't look in. And then importantly, it's about ventilation. So make sure your bottom vent's open, which is obviously down there, and also make sure that at the back, you've actually got the back of the awning pulled away, so you've got air coming, so I can feel the air coming through there now. Obviously with the mesh door here, over night time, you might want to close the door. So it's probably a good idea to actually close the mesh door fully, and then depending on how hot it is, you might just want the front door left open. Obviously with this model, because you've got the cover at the front there, you could just leave this open, which allows a lot of air to come through, which will minimise the condensation. If you do get condensation, obviously the ground sheet you can take up if you need to, but having a microfiber towel, just ideal just for wiping stuff down, that type of thing. So you'll pretty much always get condensation. It just depends on the weather conditions and how often you're in and out. But the main things are just vent as much as you can. Yet another unique feature on the trail awnings is this front sun or rain canopy. So as per the rest of the awnings, it's got a hydrostatic head of 5,000 millimeters, so very, very waterproof. It's also been designed so that the water actually runs off at the sides and also the front, and it's sized so it doesn't gather water in the middle there. So what I'll show you now is how to take it down. So if you don't want it up, either because the pitch you're on is too short or it's very sort of windy weather, then we'd recommend that you actually take it down. But we do allow it to actually roll away quite neatly. So to unpitch the front of it, it's basically unpeg your front guy lines, and your front pegs, keeping them to one side. Then once that's unpegged, just move that forward slightly, which will now allow you to undo the ground strap. Likewise on this side. And then it's a case of undoing the front guy lines. So again, they can just be pulled out. So. And then that'll just naturally fall forward, which is fine. And all we simply do then is unconnect the pole. So the first things you undo are the C-clips, which you just push off, like so. Undo your pole from one side. It's probably best to do it from the vehicle side, away from the vehicle side first. And then to remove your pole, simply a case of pushing it through. Again, if you've got somebody else who can help you, so much the better. Pole comes out like so. So at that stage, put that into the actual bag itself. Then your guy line here, or sorry, your awning here, that can get rolled up. But before you roll it up, just need to remove the front storm straps. Basically unclip like so. Again, just put those to one side because we'll need those in a moment. And then at the top here, when I can find it, so you've got that your storm straps then go into. So there's one. There's two. So your storm straps are clipped back. Just push those to one side, and then it's a case of rolling up the actual front canopy itself. So all you simply do is gather the webbing and the straps. You want to sort of gather that in one hand. Again, far easier if you've got two people doing this. And then likewise with the cowling, when you roll this, you basically roll it under. And as you roll it under, you're just gathering up all the straps. Rolling it under it's a bit of a faff, but again what it means is that if it does rain while it's rolled away, it doesn't fill full of water. So again, let's get it connected. Make that as neat or as untidy as you want really. So you've still got your front little built-in canopy, but we've just taken the extended canopy away and rolled it back. So now we simply repeg the front guy lines. And again, as always, just making sure that we're going in at 45 degrees with the tent peg. Get that nice and tight. Again, at this stage, what you may find is that because the actual awning itself has moved a little bit, you might just need to readjust your guy lines there just to put it back under tension. So once your awning's up and you've been using it for a while, you might decide that you want to drive off to the shop, something like that. You don't want to take your awning down, so this is where the drive away kit comes in very, very handy. So now I'm going to show you how to disconnect your awning and your cowling from the actual vehicle, which will allow you to drive your vehicle away. So the first thing you need to do on your cowling is just loosen off the top elastics there, just so that there's no stress on that. Then you come down under your pegs, and again remembering that they were put in at 45 degrees, so they come out at 45 degrees. So just put those to one side. Then, having done that, you do the same again at the other side. So once you've unpegged the other end, it's then a case of simply removing the figure of 8 strips, which we'll just pull out like so. Just need to work your way down and through them. The ones at the back, sometimes easier to remove from the back. So that is the awning removed from the vehicle. So keep your pegs and your figure of 8s safe. The other thing you need to do is remove the Kadar strip. Again, just keep that nice and safe. Then your cowling now can be rolled away. When you roll the cowling, rather than rolling over the top like that, which then means rain can catch into it, you roll it underneath. So starting at the centre point, so simply roll under like that. So standard hook and toggle. And you can do the sides. So as well as making it nice and neat, it stops it flapping about in the wind, therefore not getting damaged. By rolling it under, it means that if it does rain while you're out, the water will basically run off. It's not a case of when you undo the cowling, you won't get covered in water. So that's the cowling nicely rolled away. The door has got an external rain guard on, so that's nice and waterproof when the cowling isn't in place. And then theoretically you're ready to drive away. However, when you drive back, you want to make sure that the van is in line with the cowling and also the awning itself. So the best way to do this is to actually mark the front wheels. So you can either use the pegs from the cowling, or if you've got some nice bright high vis pegs like so, they can be better. So as you drive in, you can actually see them a lot better. So you simply mark the front wheel. And again, what you want to do is maybe just come in from the wheel, maybe a couple of inches, 3 inches or so, because when you come back, just gives you that little bit of flex. So mark the front and mark the back of the wheels, and likewise do the back here, which also means that you'll be in the right sort of line. And then you're ready to drive away. In terms of your spare pegs and your driveway kit. It's probably worth just put them in the van so it's somewhere safe. So I'll drive away, and then after I've driven away, I'll then come back and just use the side guy lines just to give it that little bit more structure when you're not actually in the awning. So again, just a case of doing your guy lines. Exactly the same principle as all the other guy lines. So see where the wind's coming from and basically angle the guy line into it. So I'm pulling that slightly forwards there. So one thing to note is that your guy lines are now obviously where the vehicle is going to be when you come back. So when you do return, you need to stop before you get to the actual tent itself and remove your guy lines. So when you come back, basically drive up to roughly where you need to be, obviously stopping before you get to the awning so that you can undo your guy lines. Put your pegs down there. So your guy lines, have a quick check to make sure there's nothing in the way. And it's basically a case of driving forwards and get into within the pegs itself, which means that you can reconnect the awning. So here goes. So when you get close, just jump out, have a check. So I'm just a little bit far away, so I just need to come in just a little bit more to get to it. Obviously if there's two of you, the other person can get out and guide and also take the guy lines down. Perfect, straight on top of it, exactly where it needs to be. They're only marker pegs, so that's pretty much as good as I'll get. So once you're happy you're in the right place, it's then a case of reconnecting the awning. As I said, with these marker pegs, If you're going to be going out again, I'd just leave them where they are, and in that way it saves you having to put them in each time. So to reconnect, it's the same as disconnecting, but exactly in reverse. So you've already took your guy lines up, so they're out of the way, and then it's a case of unrolling the cowling, like so. Making sure everything is unclipped, and then have a quick offer up just to make sure that it's going to fit. So that should be fine on there. And then, because you've kept them safe, you know exactly where they are. And it's a case of fitting your CADA strip back to the vehicle first. So exactly the same as when we first pitched the awning. Just feed that through, roughly. And then connecting up your awning to the actual this time, because it's already pitched, you don't necessarily need that second person, although if they are there to give you a hand, it's always easier. If you meet any resistance, just always just check to see what's causing it. In this instance, it was a guy line, so just move that out the way, and then it carries on going in. So that's connected up. And then it's a case of repegging again. So just to actually hold the position, go for both the pegging points there. Pull that in nice and tight, and again pull this in nice and tight, so nice and flush to the van. And it allows you access to the back. Again, you'd simply do the same at the back, just make sure it's all pegged down and held in place. And that is disconnecting and then reconnecting your awning from your vehicle. So when it comes to taking the awning down, obviously make sure you've got your bag to hand. So your bag, pole bag, peg bag, and the all important straps, which are needed at the end. So keep that to hand. Obviously on the inside there's a removable ground sheet. If it's not dirty, I suggest leaving it in place. You don't need to take it out each time. Entirely up to you. If you take it out, you've just got to put it in next time you use it. So personally, if it's not dirty, and today the grass is bone dry, I'll just leave that in place. If it was dirty or muddy or anything like that, it probably is worth taking it out because it's then easier to clean. So the first thing we want to do when we're taking it down is make sure that all the windows are down, the doors are closed but not completely closed, and that will allow air to come out. And then anything that's rolled up like this, just undo. So if your front awning or your front canopy is out, you just take it down as you've previously been shown. If it is rolled away like it is now, just basically undo that, let that drop down. Just means that when we actually roll it away, it's a lot easier to roll away because it's flat material and it won't bunch up. So once you've checked the inside, once you've taken the front awning, let that go loose, what we then need to do is basically just disconnect it from the vehicle. So as before, release your top straps, undo your pegs, same again at the back. It's worth, as you go, just getting little piles of pegs so they're not spread out everywhere. And same again, just simply unconnect the cowling from the van. So that's disconnected. This time we don't want to roll it away because we want it just to be flat when we roll it. Take your cader strip out. And then all this goes into the peg bag. So make sure you've got all 4 figure of 8s on your cader strip. Pop that in the bag there. So then taking the rest of the awning down, basically we unpeg everything, unpeg the guy lines, take the poles out, fold it up. So pretty much starting with your guy lines, checking on both sides. So that's all the guy lines down and away. For neatness sake, what you can do, basically shorten your guy line, just wrap it around your hand a couple of times and basically just wrap it up in a knot so it's nicely out of the way. That can be as rough or as tidy as you want really. Then last off, undo your front storm strap guy lines. And then it's a case of just unpegging it. So probably best to go front to back. Again, remembering that you've pegged the actual front door itself. Just collapse the whole thing down then. To undo the poles, undo the C-clips, again just a quick push, we'll unclip those. And then again, starting with the side away from the van, just undo the pole itself. And then the pole closest to the van. They can simply be pushed out. And we just repeat that for all the poles. So once all the poles are out, obviously just gather them together, gather all your pegs together. It's worth, at this stage, it takes a little bit longer, but it's worth getting all the pegs so they sit the same way. And also, if they're dirty, just cleaning them up just makes it a lot better for next time. So once you make sure they're all the same way, put them into the bag so the head is facing downwards, and then that way far less chance of them bursting through or anything like that. So that just quick tie there just to hold that together. Place that near your bag, and then your poles. Again. So each pole is in sections which are all joined together by elastic. So it's far easier to feed them in one at a time rather than trying to grab them all in, because then that way your elastics can get caught and all sorts. Just means it's a lot easier next time you come to use it. Again, once your poles are in and you've checked that your poles are in, so 4 separate lengths of pole, you've got 4 figure of 8s and your K-door strip. We know they're in there, so now it's time to actually roll the tent up or the awning up. When it comes to rolling tents and putting them back in the bag, tent or awning, same thing. Whenever you've got a pole set, the bag is always built around the pole set. So the bag will always be the width of the pole set. So therefore you roll the awning or the tent so it's the width of the pole bag. So have the pole bag with you as a guide. And really, all we're trying to do is make a very rough rectangle. That is very roughly the same width as the pole bag. So straps and things like that, just put those on the inside. Get any guys in, that sort of thing. So that's roughly gone in thirds. Will be a bit misshapen because you've got the cowling on there, you've got the front awning, but then offer the poles up to it, roughly about the right size. So that was just in thirds going across the width. Then always easier to have your bag near you, making sure that you've got these ties close to hand. And then simply using the poles as a guide, roll it up. As you're doing it, making sure that it doesn't stick out too far on one side, not enough on the other. Wind normally picks up just as you're rolling it. And then that's your awning rolled up. You've got your ties here. So simply put the tie underneath. Another thing is, if you have rolled it virtually as it needs to be, that tie will fit easily. There won't be too much, there won't be too little. Tie that in a bow. Don't tie it in a double knot, because you'll never get it undone again. Once it's tied, it's very easy to move about. It's not going to fall apart on you. So that's all tied up. Then, moment of truth. So that fits in there easily. So personally, I always put the pegs in last. If you roll them into the actual centre of the tent, because your pegs can be sharp, it can actually damage it from the inside. So I always put them in last and just tuck them at that end there, closest to your zip. And that way when you come to use it next time, quick check, there are your pegs. So that looked quite easy, although we do make the bags so they're 10% larger than they need to be. In wet weather, or if it's very dirty and muddy, you might not be able to get it quite as tight when you roll it up. So there's a lot of space in that bag. So in it goes. Then last thing to do is just have a quick check round. Make sure you haven't lost any pegs, anything like that, or left anything in general. So obviously we've got the marker pegs to take out. Might have to take that one out afterwards. There's a peg. So again, another good reason to pack your pegs separately is that you can just easily get to them, put your peg into it. Otherwise you might just be tempted to throw it in which can damage your awning. So that is the Trail Langley awning. It does come with a set of instructions. The instructions are also on our website, trail.co.uk. So if you do need any help, always go to there. Thank you.